grinding. Sway in the morning. What are some of the ways you can set yourself up to move with the same kind of authority in your own life and career? Number one, don't be afraid to start small. When you're out to establish a reputation, you don't want to take on anything more than you can handle. That's a quote from this book that I'm actually the voice of, Powershift by the one and only Daymond John. Powershift, transform any situation, close any deal, and achieve any outcome. This book is about the story of a young man born in Queens who made a whole lot of something out of a whole lot of nothing. Mm-hmm. Born with a disadvantage that he didn't even know he had, being dyslexic. Taking all the tools he had around him and utilizing them and making them into resources, and then growing after being supported by his mom into this entrepreneur with this entrepreneurial spirit at a time to help and shape and mold the energy that we all carry today in hip hop. When you see Offset, who gets involved in the e-gaming field, when you see P. Diddy get involved in fashion, when you see someone like Jay-Z or Nas get involved in venture capitalist situations or even investment groups, a lot of that mindset was set by the trials and tribulations that this man went through when he first began and starting his clothing line FUBU, for us, by us. But before that, he did a lot to get to that point. And he's written a new book called Powershift. How to transform any situation, close any deal, and achieve any outcome. Please welcome the one and only Daymond John is back.
That intro.
Come on, D.
I am so happy to be here. This is my spot, man.
You're a co-host.
This is my spot.
You at work again.
And you know the book better than me, because thank God this is my third book that you've done all the audio. Mm-hmm. Right? You've shifted power to me, because if I would have read it, I'm dyslexic. We would have been here for like 9 weeks. I'd have been stuttering like Elmer Fudd. You know what I'm saying? Going over the words again and again and again. Uh-huh. So you know it better than me, because listen, I had 5 versions of it that I had to shrink down to the one most soluble version, okay. And you read that, and you went in the studio how many 4 days?
Nah, it was a little more than 4 days. Yeah, it might have been about 6 days, because it's to do it's this. Your books are so important to me that I don't want no stone to go unturned. I want to make sure my dialect, my diction, how I enunciate words is all correct. I got a West Coast accent, so A lot of times I say words that they don't sound like people expect them to sound. So we went back and did a lot, and I wanted to make sure I delivered your message in a way that was easily comprehensible. But the way the book is written, and some of your terminology and some of your ideology and how you apply it to things that you accomplish in life, there are people who could read this who could be homeless.
Yeah,
I
listen, I'm dyslexic again. There's a lot of great books out there by a lot of great people, professors and everything else. Mm-hmm. But I can't take in that information. It's too clinical. It's too I want to talk about it like I'm talking to a mentor, and we're just kicking it. Mm-hmm. And you're giving me things that I can do today, mm-hmm. not this big hole down the road. You know what I mean? So that's how I write them, because that's how I absorb information. When you see on Shark Tank, they don't get too clinical about it. They come on and say, this is this and this and that. Oh, so that's the Uber of toys. You got to get it like that.
Yeah.
And once it's too complicated, you lost me.
You're losing them, right?
Yeah.
Powershift, rise and grind, power broke. Powershift. Why was this the next step?
This is the next step because I've met so many people that said, somebody doesn't want to allow me to have power. I lost power, or I can't do it. And they feel that for some reason or another, there's somebody in their way or somebody who's going to give them power. So I decided to write this book to say, I am now giving you power. Here you go. Mm-hmm. You don't need, every single person in this room has had adversity and still going through adversity. And it's only the difference of what we were able to negotiate in our lives that have made us more successful or less successful for other people. But people think it's only a transactional thing like you see on Shark Tank. No, when you're negotiating, it is three processes to it. It is number one, creating an influence. Number two, the negotiation, and we get into how to negotiate. And number three, how do you value this relationship afterwards? Because sometimes the business won't work out, but we're going to do another business together, or I'm going to recommend you to somebody else.
Facts.
So, but people are so transactional, and that's not. So if you see a Daymond John in the elevator, or a Sway, and you want to pitch them, you go, man, I only got 90 seconds. How did I build influence? Well, your influence was done way before that. Because, see, when you sit there with Sway and say, listen, I've been following you for years, and how can I add value to your life? You know what? Here's what I'm going to do for you. Or maybe have your team reach out to me. I'm going to do this for free. And you find some value in it, cool. If you don't, no problem. I'll bounce. Now, whether you follow up or not, you're going to pick up your phone when you get out of the elevator and say, what was the name again? You know, whatever. You're going to pull it up. You're going to look on there. And you're either going to find out that you're going to pass this off to somebody or call them yourselves or register in your mind, right? Or you may say, I really like that lady, but her husband's wearing the Confederate flag all the time.
Yeah.
She probably think like him. I ain't fucking with her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, or you're going to find out, listen, this person's out there trying to change the game. They're trying to educate people. All their posts, they're always looking, smiling. They're nice. They're going to walk in the room like they're a problem solver, right? Then you get to the pitching part. A negotiation is very simple. A lot of people come up with negotiations and they be like, yo, listen, I need a better job because you know what? I got 3 kids and I'm stuck at home and I ain't really had no education. I always tell people, do not tell others your problems. 20% don't care and the other 80% are really happy you have them. Don't tell people your problems when you walk in the room.
Shit. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But if I'm giving you tips on here on how to negotiate, number one, when somebody says no, like, listen, when I'm calling Mark Cuban, when I want to get together with Mark Cuban, I know never to call him. He doesn't pick up the phone, but he'll answer an email. I don't take it personally. When he did the interview with this book, he did it over text because I know that I'm making his life easier and I'm working with him the way that he works with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you walk in the room, there's body language you can look at. There's other ways. When people say no, do you ever say, well, how can I make this easy for you? What are the hurdles that you're having right now? When can I return with it? Is this totally not for you?
Yeah.
People usually just get offended. They said no, right?
They take it personal.
They take it personal.
Yeah.
Also, when you communicate, and this is why this is really great for today's day and age. There's an old thing the car salesman used to do. They used to look at someone when somebody comes in the door and they see how the person's talking. They would sell a car off of a couple of different senses: sight, sound, taste, feel, whatever the case is. So it would be the same red Corvette. If you walk in and you're talking like about sight, they'd be like, do you envision yourself driving down a winding road with the leaves falling all around you and your hair blowing in the air? If you're about feel, they'd be like, do you feel the engine when you're driving down the road, you're shifting the gears?
Yeah.
Their smell, can you smell that rich leather? And the fall leaves, New York just blowing by you? And they're about sound, hear the engine roaring. The speakers, the Bose systems. And now when you're communicating with people on social media, you can see how they talk. If you ever communicate with me, I'm a visual person because I'm dyslexic, right? So there's various different ways that you can communicate, you know, with people. And when you're communicating the way that they are and you're seeing what's best for them, they'll give you the world, right? And then, of course, you got to nurture the relationship afterwards.
You go through some steps on how to better negotiate or prepare yourself for negotiation. One of the parts of the book that I really enjoyed. I'm just give a couple of them out, and then also I want to open up the phone lines to young folks who got big ideas, or old folks who got big ideas and don't necessarily know how to execute them. This is the book that you need, Powershift by Daymond John, and negotiation. And then you can go to DaymondJohn.com/Powershift extras. Go to DaymondJohn.com/Powershift extras. I said this maybe 10,000 times as I read through this book. That's how it's implanted on my brain. But these are important steps, and some of them I learned through trial and error in my own career, negotiating deals since the late 80s, early 90s. Number one, identify the other person's motivation. You speak on it. What's in it for them? The more you know about what the other person expects to get out of the deal, the more time you have to start thinking about what you're prepared to give.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, listen, one of the people I have in the book is Bomba Socks. All right, they're the number one invested brand on Shark Tank history. It's a sock company, right? And every pair of socks they sell, they give away. They come on Shark Tank. And they know the only thing I do not want to invest in is anything clothing, because I have 10 clothing brands and 8 of them are dead. That's the last thing I want to invest in, because when I want to go to a retailer, I want to find out how can I take up some place in the electronics and lotions and bedding, right? But they pitched me, and here's what they realized. They realized that I have a passion for helping people, right? So they said, Daymond, every pair of socks that we sell, we give away a pair to the homeless. However, they realized that I was at the mercy of the retailers, so that's why my brands were dying, and that they were selling direct-to-consumer so that they can educate me on how to sell direct-to-consumer because they're already doing it, and no longer am I at the mercy of when a retailer is making bad decisions. We did the deal. And you know me, I'm a logo whore.
Yeah.
FUBU was all about logos.
Yeah.
You can't tell if anybody in this room is wearing Bomber socks because our feet are covered. So that's the last thing I want to do. I did the deal because they knew what my destiny was. It wasn't clothing. It was the ability to educate myself on how to sell directly to a consumer, and now it's the number one brand in Shark Tank history.
And not only that, for every pair of Bomber socks they sell,
they give away a pair to the homeless. They're giving over 30 million pairs away.
Wow.
and that in the book is what appealed to you as well. Come prepared with questions. For me, the most awkward part of the job interview is when I ask the person applying if they have any questions for me before we finish, and they don't.
Yep.
Don't you hate that?
Yes,
Like,
I
we
do.
have interns that come up here and I say, you have any questions? I do it on purpose. You have any questions about the show? No. Well,
Keep it 100. Keep it real. Listen, if somebody doesn't have a question for me in an interview, I feel a couple of things. Number one, they're just so busy trying to get the job, and they're going to be a pain in the ass down the road. Or number two, they're just lying to me and they're never going to be able to vocalize within me or within my system how to get something done because they're not a problem solver. They're the kind of person who's going to internally interpret things a certain way and then blow up or leave or have an excuse or have a problem, right? And we're all human. Who doesn't have a question?
yeah.
Right? So you're not an A-type personality when you come to my job if you don't have a question, right? And so a lot of these things people don't realize that's why they lose deals. But most important thing about that, people don't know what they really want.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of people. I want to be a millionaire. All right, so when you get $1 million, what you going to do? You're going to buy one Bugatti? Well, that's 1.2. You're going to need another 200,000. You're going to buy 10 cars? Or you're going to put some money into buying investment real estate and then you're going to flip it and still keep your day job? You're going to move to Bali and live off of $30,000 a year for 10 years while the market drops. You're going to put $600,000 into the market and you're going to carve canoes and save turtles. What are you going to do when you get it?
Yeah.
So that's why when you see people like athletes and lotto winners that 3 years after the league or they win the lotto, they're bankrupt because an athlete was being the best physical specimen. They knew they were trying to win a ring, but they didn't know what to do with the money.
Yeah.
So the lotto winner didn't expect this windfall. So a lot of people don't know their why. Are you doing it for yourself because society tells you, because your mother locked you in the closet and beat you for 12 years and told you this is what a successful person is? Like, or because you want to impress a whole bunch of people on Instagram that you really don't care about? Like, what are you doing it for? What's your why and what's the line that you're willing to draw in the sand? People just have no idea what they want to do.
And with that, you say consider your deal breakers in advance. I always, before I go into a deal, consider what is it that I can absolutely not tolerate. You know, and
Sometimes the deal is you can't tolerate just the other person.
Yeah.
No matter how good the deal went, you just can't tolerate the other person.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. So this book is about people who want to take power. Like, let's look at where we are today, and I'm gonna give you an example. You know, if everybody's running around with masks and they're telling you got to stay home, and companies are saying you can work from home, well, if you just save 3 hours a day in going back and forth to work, now if you take that 3 hours a day and you treat it like Saturday and you start bullshitting and playing video games, if you're not trying to be a gamer, you could take that hour and a half out of that 3 hours a day. Get digital curriculums. You can eat healthier. You can, whatever, work out. Do whatever you can. Learn new technology on how to work from home so that when this happens again, or if it never happens again, you're sophisticated on where we're going. You have to reinvest in yourself. So in there, I got a woman named Crystal. She went on maternity leave. She had a baby. The baby was a preemie. She comes back to the office. She's like, hey, I got to take care of my baby. Can I work half the time? And they're like, no. But she'd already studied how to be a virtual assistant. And she lives in the middle of Ohio. Now she gives me 20 hours a week virtually. Right? She gives somebody else 5 or 10 or whatever the case is. She doesn't have to trek through the snow. She makes up her own hours. She gets time to spend with her baby. And she's never going to work for anybody else again. She basically makes her own hours. And that was because she understood where this world is going. And people could do that right now. Everybody at home right now can find ways to do these things.
Daymond John is here. We're talking about the book, Powershift, Transform Any Situation, Close Any Deal, and Achieve any outcome. At the end of every chapter is what you call a power fact, and this has been in all your books. And at the end of this particular chapter, do your homework, you say the power fact is know your stuff up and down and across the board, and know that if you invest your time in prep work before heading into a meeting or a pitch or a job interview, you won't be alone. A study reported by negotiations.com revealed that 40% of the time we spend in a negotiation is internal, meaning where we dig deep and learn everything we can about the opposite party so that when we do finally get to the table to make something happen, we're well and fully prepared. If that ain't game, I can't give you more than that. There's so much game in this book. 888-742-3345. You want to transform your life. I got another question for you, Daymond John, in this political climate that I want to ask you when we come back right after this.
Let's do it.
Yeah, big dog shit. If I can inspire dog shit.
Sway in the morning, Shade 45. You hear that song? Listen.
Bring back Fubu.
Oh, bring back Fubu. Oh, yeah, I heard about that song.
Yes, it's by Trans Lee.
Bring back Fubu. Yeah,
Fubu, man.
That's gonna be you.
Bring back
All the baddies wearing my shit.
Bring back Fubu. Bring back Fubu. BB.
Speaking of Fubu, I happened to be on the train the other day, and I don't know if anybody brought this to your attention, but there was an ad that caught my eye because in that ad, they used the slogan "For us, by us," and I didn't know if that was something that was trademarked. I'll let you look at it, but
I think we did trademark that. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I thought you might be interested in.
Wait, hold up. Look at the movement first before you don't say nothing just yet. You got to see who used it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just tuck that away.
Yeah.
There's also Solange's song. Solange has a song,
Solange has a
Fubu.
song, Fubu.
Did she have to clear that with you?
No, not at all. We love that.
Yeah.
We love that, and we love her, so we all good with that.
Yes.
Yeah, keep that paperwork. It's been a lot of. Mike Muse is here, by the way, and we talk about the political climate all the time, and how these candidates are really need the help of the black vote in order to get in office, whether they want to believe it or not. And we're fighting to find out, what is your agenda for black folks? What are you going to do really for black folks? Not just pander to us while you're on this trail, but when you actually get into office. And so I was curious. A lot of us, obviously, we want our fair share. We want equal standing on every table. But even deeper than that, in our communities, how we switch our mindsets into financial literacy. If you had the opportunity to create a financial agenda for the black community in the United States, and every community is slightly different, but what would be the principal pylons you would start with? What should we be focused on from an early age to now? How do we improve and evolve our mindset? Because we are the most powerful group of people on the planet with the most buying power, but we own the least amount of things.
But again, this is a systematic challenge that we have because, people of color and minorities don't trust the banking system. And the banks are not ran by the government, but the banks have been traditionally, systematically not giving us our seat at the table. A traditional family would go and work, and then they would get a loan at a certain level, right? Buy a house, build equity in that house over 30, 40 years, and then take the equity out of that house, or sometimes diversify that equity, and and then buy a cheaper house, as the kids leave, right? And we would grow like that, real estate, right? But if systematically we weren't allowed to get loans, or they would give us super high credit, super high interest rates, then that started us off already. So, you looked at us getting, the unemployment rate was super high for us. If we got a job, we didn't get the same as other groups, and then we weren't able to buy a house, and our credit scores were ruined because of that. So it's a big systematic change right there. So we can first of all start with us and say, let me tell you something. If if you're taking your check and you're paying, how much is a cash check in place right now?
The percentage that
Yeah,
they charge
percent.
probably 15% or something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's say if it's even 10% to cash a check, and then you gotta do money orders and stuff like that. You've eaten up probably 15 to 20% of your entire salary if you do that every single week. But if you went to a bank, it doesn't cost you any money to do any of that. But you don't trust the banking system.
Okay.
Right. Also, it's about financial intelligence. Listen, if an average person in this country is making $35,000 a year, well, if every single time you go down to your favorite coffee spot when you get to work, you spend $5 then, and then during your 2:00 crash, you spend another $5. That's $10. Times that by 5 days a week. We're not even talking about weekends, right? That's $50.
Yeah.
Times that by a month. That's 4 times 50. That's $200. Times that by 12. That becomes $2,400. The $2,400, if you have to make money, you're gonna net $2,400. You'd have to make $4,000 to make the $2,400. You're only making $35,000 a year. You just spent 12% of your salary
on
coffee.
You hear that? All right.
And then the other 10% you spent on cashing the check.
So what would you invest public funds into? Like, how would you, to break down that systemic system that's in place? What would you do? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, it would of course be small business loans, and it would also be, but more importantly, it would be financial intelligence at an early age, teaching kids financial intelligence at 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Ages. Also, it would be spending more time teaching young and giving more opportunities to young females for a better education, because it globally has been recognized as, and I'll just say this one stat: the reason why, the number one way to reduce global warming. Guess what?
What's that?
Educating women. Because in most of the world where women cannot get educated, if they don't have an education, they end up becoming somebody who's having children at 12 years old and 14 and 15 years old. But stats have proven that if a girl gets an education after 12 to 14 years old, she starts thinking about what's in her best interest, and she decides to have a child when she wants to have a child. That reduces the population. It's the same thing in the hood. If we educate our young females in the hood at an earlier age, they're going to stay in schools longer. They're going to become engineers. The stat is that all the girls that go into engineer programs, 70% of them drop out the first year because they have nobody else to identify with. So I think that it would be about educating our young females and then giving us financial education, as well, of course, educating our males too, 100%. But when I'm just showing you different elements, but that I'll leave it to Mike and other people with the bigger brains in the room and in the world to do that. I'm a simple guy, and I break it down the simple way of what the things I see, and but. We're in trouble. We got to make sure that our politicians, they've been hoodwinking us from day one. You
You like anyone in particular right now?
I worked with Biden when I was a presidential ambassador for Barack Obama, and I know where his heart is at. The communication that he has out there is pretty strong, but I know where his heart is at, first of all. But I'll be very honest, I haven't dug too deep into what's going on right now, because I like some of the things Buttigieg was saying. I like some of the things Andrew Yang was saying about the digital divide and what this country needs to do. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start getting a little bit deeper into what they're saying. But, with the fiascos that's been going on out there for the last 4 years, I've lost a lot of hope with Republicans and Democrats, because I think that if the person in charge now was on the other side, they'd been playing the same game on the other side. So I'm really, I'm frustrated. So that's why I think entrepreneurship and things like that's the only thing you're going to be able to save yourself. The government, nobody's going to help you. Nobody's coming to the house and taking you off the couch.
Yeah.
And if you have issues like, listen, I was born in the hood and I'm black and I'm dyslexic. I didn't go to college. Guess what? I'm probably not going to change my color. Yeah. I can't find out what the hell. I can't do anything about what happened in the past. I got to handle myself right now. This is about getting paper right now for me and my family and educating myself.
Word up.
Daymond John. And that's a couple $100 million behind that, what he's saying right now, y'all. He ain't just saying this shit. He's living it. Mike Muse.
Yeah, first of all, what's up, Daymond? How are you,
Mike? That's my man right there with the best shoes in the game. I ain't see your shoes yet over there.
I love bumping into Daymond John out and about, man. Salute to you and all that you do, man.
Thank you, Mike.
I really appreciate the knowledge that you just dropped. But I think it's important, though, even the comments you just made that, you don't have the political brains. You're just an individual who breaks it down simplicity. But I think opposite. I think who better than you, right? And I think the whole notion that we have to be qualified, we have to get that out of our narrative and our conversation, because that's exactly why we got into the system that we're in right now with our democracy being undermined.
Yeah.
It's because all of us haven't participated in the discourse because we don't feel like we're qualified. So that's just one statement. But I want to land on, though, is entrepreneurship, because you just said that we have to save ourselves, because the government isn't going to save us, right? And so why do you think entrepreneurship has not been brought up enough in just political discourse as a solution to solving some of the issues of our society and our people directly?
I think that because it's easier to talk to the masses, to say to them, oh, I'm going to get you a better 401k, better insurance, we're going to give some tax benefits to those, and I think it's easier to get to that crowd with a bigger net, right? But I think that entrepreneurship is extremely important. But you know what? Entrepreneurship is also not for everybody. An entrepreneur takes a job of working 80 hours a week to avoid working 40. And some people, their priority is, I want to know that I got a good 401k. I want to know that I'm going home to my family, and I want to take 2 weeks off every year. So I think there's more people out there working in that sense, and that you can give them that message easier. That's what I believe.
Daymond John. Damn, man, that's a great question too, Mike Muse.
But I think one other thing about having financial intelligence, I don't care what color you are.
Yeah.
You need financial intelligence because, and I'm not against schools. I think schools are extremely valuable for various different reasons, but they're not, the system is not set up for you to have financial intelligence, because if you had financial intelligence in school, then you're not going to take a $300,000 loan at 18 years old to take an education that you're not certain that you want.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to, especially today with digital courses out, you don't need to be at a school anymore. Okay, please, I always say this, please go to school if you're going to be a doctor and start cutting people open. I need you to do that. Or you want to be a very specific, if you want to be specific on something, please go to school.
Somebody gonna open up a doctor's office like Daymond John said I could do that shit. He a shark. I ain't got no license.
Scalpel? Plasma? Dog plasma?
Who got that butter knife?
But everybody needs financial intelligence. But because we're African Americans, we don't have generations of people who may have had financial intelligence. Our uncle can't necessarily tell us what to do because he doesn't have 2 and 3 generations before him that understood how to build wealth. So I think we all need financial intelligence. But yes, you're right. I think that African American and minority community needs to be aware of it as well.
Daymond John, I'm opening up these phone lines. It is International Women's Month, so I want to open the mic up to the women in the room.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey, give it up, man. The
That's
ladies,
right.
the ladies.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Any ladies got a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. I do. You speak a lot about networking in this book, which I think is so important. And what I've seen a lot in the entertainment industry, sometimes, yes, there is clout chasing, but I also think that gets muddled in with just nurturing relationships. And sometimes people feel uncomfortable when an individual is okay with initiating a conversation and then getting an exchange of contacts and then sustaining it. Can you just give a breakdown on the difference between networking and clout chasing, and how someone who's uncomfortable with networking can maybe become more comfortable?
Yeah, so I've never been asked that before, and I think that it's the right point. I mean, when people clearly have an agenda and they want to use you, nobody wants to feel used. Again, that goes back to the negotiation side, what's in the best interest for that person. And I think that if you have anything of value and you're networking with people, you don't try to close the first time. You ask them and say, can we create a relationship? If not, no problem. You follow them on social media. You send them over information that can help them. And after a while, that works. People feel appreciated. Like, you know what? Listen, Chauncey, right here in the room, right? Mm-hmm. He was in the music industry. We all know Chauncey. I saw him for 10 years before I asked him, maybe 15 years at clubs, walking around. But I always saw him represent himself a certain way with artists. And then 15 years later, I said, man, you need to come over and work for me. Wow. You know what I mean? Every one of you in this room that I've seen for all these years, right? Yeah. Right? Mike and I were talking about his shoes. Like, these were nurtured relationships. But I definitely have the cats who hit me up with, they only hit me when they want something. Mm-hmm. And they somehow are not around when I say, yo, can I have Chauncey give you a call? Yeah. And then Chauncey be like, yo, that cat, I don't know, he don't be picking up the phone for me. Mm. He doesn't value my team or me as much as he values his agenda or her
Right.
agenda. So it's very clear. And again, if you don't have the best interest for somebody else, you should really check yourself again with that. But it's hard to sometimes define when those people are using you.
Yeah,
it really
that's
is
true.
hard to do that. But let's look at social media. I try to like as many of the comments there, and I try to get to know the people. And literally, I probably have become somewhat acquainted. I'm not going to call them friends with about 50 people on my social media because they stayed with me from day one.
Same.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
You're on there a lot too, man.
Yeah.
I think you might need an intervention, man. You got a problem.
Keep that
with
content out there, baby. And everybody right now who's on social media, you got content. Everybody's at home now. You better get that content out there. There's one thing people are going to be absorbing is content. And if your content is good, you're going to...
You're going to shoot up. We got Terrence on the line from Colorado. We're
What
talking
up,
about
T?
Powershift. Transform any situation, close any deal, and achieve any outcome. What's your question, T?
Hey, Terrence.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, first off. But I called in last time Mr. Daymond John was on the show and let him know that he inspired me to continue moving forward with my business. I got a couple loans for some vehicles, advancing the business. But listening to the books, talked about, and forgive me if this is the wrong term, but a power meeting with you and how to set it up. And with reading the book, it said, you're leery of emails because of viruses and such, and find another way to get in touch with you. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, to see how to set that up and how to gain some knowledge on some things that I'm working on to grow the business and bring other people along with me.
Yeah, so we do meetings well, first of all, anybody can email me at daymond@daymondjohn.com. And if it's something of value that we can add value to, or it's very clear, then we will respond and we'll try to get to you. But yeah, to set up meetings with me, I'm on a platform called Game Changers, Game Changer Meetings, or GC Meetings. Is it GC Meeting or Game Changer Meetings? We do the one-on-one meetings with people, and we give away a good portion of it to charity. Or if you just need simple information from me, I have a digital curriculum called Daymond on Demand, and it's 8 hours of detailed information on raising funding, how to pitch people, how to know your target market, and things of that nature.
Thanks for your call, Terrence. Follow up.
Thank you, Terrence.
Hey, thanks for listening to the book, too, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. I'll get it tomorrow when it comes out.
Okay, cool. We're going to get another plaque off of this one.
Yeah.
All right. In this book, you're going to hear from some very successful people. Trish Jenner is on determining your value, says you don't have to ask somebody else for permission. You have the power to be able to stick to your guns and demand your worth. That's a very successful person. Lindsey Vonn, I'm a goal-oriented person, and when I reach one goal, well before I reach that goal, I have another goal in place. Pit Bull. I love the Pit Bull story. The Pit Bull story.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and people don't understand. I bumped into Pit Bull's success traveling, and people telling me, he owns this whole, village of homes
in DR.
In DR, and he owns this restaurant, and I didn't know Pit Bull
was so ill.
But that's your buddy.
Yeah, so and I'm glad we have so many other people there, from Mark Cuban and to various other people, but
Billie Jean King
changed the face of sports, globally. So, but here's what I want to break it down. When I was doing these power shifts in my life, when I was early coming up, I didn't realize what I was doing. I was just coming up. I know there was a method to it. And then when I put these people in, like Lindsey Vonn she practiced 4 years. She practices for 4 years to win over like a quarter of a second every 4 years coming down the slopes. And she's with the best of the best. Kris Jenner, she can edit anything she wants. She never has edited any of the things. That's why we see in the Kardashians in front of us, good, bad, and ugly. But if you really look at them, girls who had not come from a singing background or a sports background, to be the second most Google family on the planet, doing about $400 million a year. You know what I mean? In revenue. I mean, there's a method behind that. Pitbull, we're all in the room. We grew up with, and some of us have been artists, or still artists, actually. But it was all keep it real, right? Yeah. Be the hardest rapper. And he's everybody in this room probably knows he's a crazy freestyler. Yeah. But he realized that the world doesn't always need you to keep it real. The world sometimes just want to escape and they just want to dance. You know what I mean? And he grew his business and moved and and a lot of other people had laughed at him. Oh man, you doing that pop shit, whatever
that
the
dance
case is.
music, that
All that, Woo,
EDM
whatever the case is. Now look at him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have some Mark Cuban, of course. You know, listen, he was, he is an absolutely amazing shark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
An amazing person. So I put them all in there because I started to see this defining line of things that we all had done together that we can apply to people. So you look at a Diddy, you go, how can a Diddy start off as a dancer? Then he gets to the top as a record label owner. Then he comes into my business and becomes one of the top fashion brands. Then he moves over to become one of the top liquor brands. It's hard enough to get in one of those industries. Oh, and a music artist.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how many No Way Out. How many did that sell? 14 million or something like that?
And then also he owns a TV network.
And on the TV. What is he doing to get to the top of every one of them? Same with Magic Johnson, different fields. It's in the book. It's the power shift. It's the way that you have to think, the slow applications that you have to do. So whether you want to get the remote control away from your significant other, get someplace in your community church, or run a business or get an investment, it's here. You could do it.
Power Shift. Book is available at midnight.
Thank you.
Midnight. Go ahead and listen to it. This is your weekend listen. In season 11 of Shark Tank is airing Fridays at 8 p.m. on ABC. Thank you for always, pulling out that hand of opportunity. I'm going to take it every time you ask.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for shifting the power over to me. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate you shifting the power over to me.